Want to welcome everyone to cost. Today we're going to concentrate on the manufacturing statement and the cost of goods sold. The manufacturing statement is a unique statement for the manufacturing process, and we're going to deal with direct materials used, direct labor used, and then the factory overhead. And then some of the terminology we have, raw materials used is pretty straightforward. This is the material that you use for the production of the final product, and you can measure how much and the quantity of how much. That's the direct materials. Direct labor is the actual people doing the production process, the actual assembly workers and the people on the direct line. That's what's called direct labor. We have indirect labor, which is overhead, and overhead is things that are still used, necessary for the production process, but are not actually part of the production itself of the product, such as indirect labor, which would be foreman, supervisor salary, maintenance personnel. Those are all necessary for the production process, but they're not actually producing the product itself. Direct labor is the ones actually producing the product. Other examples, and I'm not going to list all the examples for overhead, are indirect material. This is one we had. They may be insignificant in dollar value or not measurable. There'll be indirect materials. Of course, utilities, which is the power. You can't measure how much goes in each one. Factory supplies would be in here. So these are the types of things that are necessary for the production process, but are not actually producing the product. So with that, we'll get started with the manufacturing statement. Now here's where it also could be different. Some places, some companies will want the work in process beginning at the very top. I preferred it at the end because that's the company I was at, liked it at the end. So either way is fine. It's just all you do is put the work in process like May 1st up here, and that number will go clear here over to the right. But I'm starting with the raw materials, beginning raw materials for May 1st, and that is for 82,000. Then we look at the raw materials purchased, and that's for 290,000. And then we get the raw materials available. We add these two together, gives us 372,000. Okay, so that's the material we have available. Then we subtract off the raw materials that we have not used. So that's the raw material ending inventory. And that would be the 372 then minus the 79,000, or 293,000. And then I have one in here because it's raw materials. I have the indirect materials because we don't want that in there. And some places will have it, and some places will keep it separate to start with, but that's subtracted off. So the direct materials used is 272,000. Like I said, the indirect materials may or not be included with yours. Place I was at, the raw materials was all raw materials, which included the indirect materials because it was insignificant, so we would subtract those off. And that gives us direct materials used then of 272,000. Direct labor is 462,000. That was just given. Now that could be also, it could be total labor, and then it tells you how much was indirect labor. Then you just subtract them off, because that column there you want the direct labor used. And then we have our factory overhead, which I have listed here as indirect material is 21,000. Indirect labor is 76,000. Utilities is 34,000. Supplies, this is factory supplies, is 7,300. Supervisor salary is 52,000. Factory property taxes is 9,000. That's factories. Now office, so we haven't done away with the income statement. The office property taxes and everything related to the office would go on the income statement yet. So we haven't done away with the income statement. Factory asset depreciation is 64,720. The office equipment and buildings, office buildings would go onto the income statement just like before. Factory insurance is 12,000. So what we have here then, if we add these up, we have $276,020 for the factory, total factory overhead. Now to get the total manufacturing costs, we would, let's do it this way. We would add, there we go. Add these three up, gives us our total manufacturing costs. Then from this, we would add the beginning work in process, which is the 165, to give us our total work in process during the month, or during the period that we're talking about. In this case, it's a month. Then we subtract off the beginning work in process, and then we would have our cost of goods manufactured. Just make sure you subtract that off. That gives us $1,054,200. So that's our manufacturing statement. Then we'll come down here and we'll do our cost of goods sold. So we would start with our beginning finished goods, which is the $98,300. Then the cost of goods manufactured is what we just calculated, so that's what will go in there. And then we add these two together. If you notice, this is real similar to our in financial what we did in the same type of statement, the cost of goods sold statement, except this time instead of purchases we have cost of goods manufactured. And then we subtract off the ending finished goods, which is 91,600, and that will give us then the cost of goods sold. And by subtracting those off of cost of goods sold then is $1,060,900. Okay, then what you would do, you would go to the income statement, would be the next statement you would have your sales, and then you subtract off the $1,060,900 for your cost of goods sold to get your gross profit, and then the rest of the income statement is just exactly what you did before. So I hope that helps, and that is the manufacturing statement and the cost of goods sold. The only other option is sometimes the cost of goods sold may be a separate schedule, or it may be attached after the cost of goods manufactured. Then you just come down here with beginning finished goods, goods available for sale, less ending finished goods, and that gives you the cost of goods sold. It's part of this statement, so this statement would be changed to cost of goods manufactured and cost of goods sold. Okay, so I will see you in the next video.